بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أسألك وأتوجه إليك بنبيك نبي الرحمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. يا أبا القاسم يا رسول الله يا إمام الرحمة يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد يا قرة عين الرسول يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند الله اشفعي لنا عند الله. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين بن علي أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن الحسين يا زين العابدين يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها الباقر يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا موسى بن جعفر أيها الكاظم يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن محمد أيها الهادي النقي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها الزكي العسكري يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا وصي الحسن والخلف الحجة أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. حاجات يا سادتي وموالي إني توجهت بكم أئمتي وعمدتي ليوم فقري وحاجتي إلى الله وتوسلت بكم إلى الله واستشفعت بكم إلى الله فاشفعوا لي عند الله واستنقذوني من ذنوبي عند الله فإنكم وسيلتي إلى الله وبحبكم وبقربكم أرجو نجاة من الله فكونوا عند الله رجائي يا سادتي يا أولياء الله صلى الله عليهم أجمعين ولعن الله وعذاب الله ظالميهم من الأولين والآخرين آمين رب العالمين. اللهم صل على
صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
سجاد رہائی پا کر بھی پردیس سے گھر کو آ کر بھی جب اشک بہاتے رہتے تھے زینب سے دکھ دیکھے نہ گئے. ایک روز طرف یہ پوچھا سجاد تو کب تک روئے گا. اس وقت میرے مولا نے کہا اس وقت میرے مولا نے کہا اماں ہے اپنے مقدر پر صغرا کے سہاروں پر کیوں نہ روئے سجاد کیوں نہ روئے سجاد کیوں نہ روئے سجاد. اے میری پھوپھی انصاف تو کر نیزے پہ جو دیکھے باپ کا سر ہو سات سفر میں وہ جس میں چھیرا تھا علی اکبر کا جگر. تیروں کی سزا ملتی ہو جہاں بچوں کو اشک بہانے پر کیوں نہ روئے سجاد کیوں نہ روئے سجاد کیوں نہ روئے سجاد. تم چھپ چھپ کر خون روتی ہو میروں کو کیوں کہتی ہو رویا نہ کرو اے لال میرے بھائی کو گوا کر بیٹھی ہوں. معصوم بہن جو کو زندہ میں جو چھوڑ کے تنہا آیا گھر کیوں نہ روئے سجاد کیوں نہ روئے سجاد کیوں نہ روئے سجاد. نیزے سے گھرا عباس کا سر میں دیکھ چکا ہوں وہ منظر دربار میں کیوں مر نہ گیا جب نام تمہارا لے لے کر کہتا تھا لئی زینب ہے کہا لے آؤ یہاں پر بے چادر، کیوں نہ روئے سجاد، کیوں نہ روئے سجاد، کیوں نہ روئے سجاد۔ سب قتل ہوئے میں زندہ تھا، بیمار سہی لڑ سکتا تھا، شرمندہ ہوں میں اصغر سے، وہ تیر ستم سے لڑ تو گیا، وہ تیر میرے کیوں کر نہ لگا، جس تیر سے گھائل تھا اصغر۔ کیوں نہ روئے سجاد، کیوں نہ روئے سجاد، کیوں نہ روئے سجاد۔ کیوں سامنے صغرا کے جاؤں، بہتر تو یہی میں مر جاؤں، تم زندہ ہو اکبر نہ رہا، وہ پوچھے تو کیا بتلاؤں، کیا صبر کروں کیا ضبط کروں، ہے زخم بہت دل کے اندر، کیوں نہ روئے سجاد، کیوں نہ روئے سجاد، کیوں نہ روئے سجاد، کیوں نہ روئے سجاد۔ صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد۔ اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد۔
برباد ہوئی میں آباد ہوئی کرب و بلا، اجڑا مدینہ برباد ہوئی میں۔ ایک دن تھا کہ اس شہر کی کرتی تھی میں شاہی، اور آج تباہی، بے غسل پڑا مہر نبوت کا نگینہ، برباد ہوئی میں۔ کس لاش پہ روؤں، کسے چھوڑوں میں برادر، لاشیں ہیں 72، حد یہ ہے کہ رونے کی اجازت بھی ملی نہ، برباد ہوئی میں۔ اصغر کا گلا بھائی کا سر، سینہ اکبر سب گوہر و چادر، اس دشت میں لوٹا گیا زینب کا خزینہ، برباد ہوئی میں۔ مائیں بھی نہ پہچان سکی بچوں کے چہرے، بکھرے ہوئے صحرے، ہے خون کی دریا میں غریبوں کا سفینہ، برباد ہوئی میں۔ ایک آگ ہے خیموں میں قیامت کا سما ہے، غازی تو کہاں ہے؟ دیکھو تو ردا چھین لیا شمر کمینہ، برباد ہوئی میں۔ آباد ہوئی کرب و بلا، اجڑا مدینہ، برباد ہوئی میں۔ محمد و آل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم۔
اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our condolences to the Imam of our time and to all of the mu'mineen on the occasion of the Shahadat of our fourth holy Imam, Imam Ali Zainul Abideen alayhi salam. The Wessex Jamaat Ladies Committee would like to invite the sisters to Bibi Sakina Day, a sorrowful afternoon program in remembrance of the Hashemites' little princess Sakina. The event will be held on Sunday, the 11th of September 2022 from 2:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the Al-Mahdi Center. The event is for ladies and children only. The Al-Mahdi Toddlers Club is in the process of setting up a free play session for toddlers in our community. This will be held on a weekday at Dar al-Zahra Center, here at the Al-Mahdi Center. If you have any toys or items that your child may have outgrown, which are in good condition and can be given to the Al-Mahdi Toddlers Group, please could you send a picture to Sister Sayeda Premji on her mobile Thereafter, the items which are required will be selected and you will be informed regarding delivery arrangements. Please kindly do not drop off any toys at the centre. Many thanks in advance to all of those who get in touch regarding their toy donations. The Wessex Health Committee has extended the deadline for the Wessex Health Survey to the 5th of September. Mu'mineen who have not completed the survey already are highly encouraged to spare a few minutes to give us important information about the health of Wessex Jamaat. On this night where we remember Imam Sajan alayhi salam, I'd like to request you to take this opportunity to donate to the Muharram and Safar Fund. As well as covering the costs associated with the 12 nights of Muharram, your donations will also help us to run the various Azhar programs, including the Ashra Zainabiyya and Arba'in programs. Of our target of £22,000, we have currently raised £17,315, about 79%. Once again, please do consider making a donation using the link that has been circulated by WhatsApp and email, or contact the Treasurer for further information. Can I please request the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha for the marhumin of those who have sponsored towards today's program, Surah Al-Mubarakat Al-Fatiha. Please note that our sponsorship scheme, whereby you can partially sponsor a program for any amount of at least £25 to ensure Fatiha is recited for your marhumin. This sponsorship scheme will remain open throughout the remainder of Muharram and Safar. If you would like to sponsor a program for your marhumin, please contact treasurer@almahdi.org.uk. We are honoured to be hosting Shaykh Miqdad Alidina for the Majlis this evening. Many of you know Shaykh Miqdad from his time here in Wessex and his previous lectures here at Wessex Jamaat. Since he was here in Wessex, he has been active in his studies in the holy city of Qom in the Hawza, where he had also been serving as one of the directors for the Bab al-Rida Institute. We are most grateful, Shaykh Miqdad, that you've accepted our invitation once again this evening. Can I ask you to please join me in welcoming Shaykh with the loudest of your salawat ala Muhammad.
In honor of Fatima Zahra, salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In honor of Imam Sajan alayhi salam, salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Safety of Sahibul Zaman with the loudest of our voices, salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرض واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين. My respected scholars, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'd like to go through some of the pages of history tonight to get inspired by something very amazing that occurs in the life of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. To do so, I'll begin with a short hadith that brings about some amazement and some very astonishment as to what the Imam managed to achieve in the 34 years of his imamah. Shaykh al-Mufid in al-Ikhtisas, as well as Kashi in his Rijal, mentions this very amazing hadith. It says that ارتد الناس بعد الحسين إلا ثلاثة. People had abandoned the faith, had left the true path after Imam al-Hussein, except for three people. And he mentions these names. This is very strange. After the event of Karbala, you find that Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam is in a position where he has just three companions around him. Just three companions. The hadith then, after mentioning the names of these individuals, says, ثُمَّ إِنَّ النَّاسِ لَحِقُوا وَكَثَرُوا. However, after this, slowly people increased in numbers. And this is very strange. In the year 61, when Imam al-Sajjad becomes the Imam, he has three companions with him. Fast forward 40 years from then, where Imam al-Baqir becomes the Imam, you find that from across the Muslim lands, people are flocking towards Medina to pay their respect to Imam Baqir. And you all know how Imam Baqir and Imam Musadiq, they were able to establish a university, were able to gather such amazing companions that in Kufa, 900 scholars would say, قال الصادق عليه السلام. These were individuals who grew up in what time? At the time of Imam al-Sajjad. How did this man, in a space of 35 years, goes from 3 individuals to 1,000? This is amazing. This is worth thinking upon. This is worth our reflection. We need to go back in history and ask Imam al-Sajjad, what did you do? How did you manage to turn the tides in such a way that irtadda an-nas illa thalath became katharu? That from the hadith says, from Khurasan, northeast of Iran, people would come to Masjid al-Nabi and there will be izdiham, there will be no space in the mosque. People had to queue to meet the Imam. What's happening? What happened? This is the barakah of the efforts of this person, this fourth holy Imam and his companions. And the inspiration that we need to take from here is this, before I go on and explaining how this happens, is that, brothers and sisters, being a minority and having the tides against us is never, ever an excuse to stop our responsibilities towards guiding the people. At the end of the day, we are all Muslims and we all want to guide people. We all want to help others. We claim, sitting over here, that we have the answers to all problems out there. We know the path towards Allah. We know how to achieve justice. We know how to achieve success and happiness. This needs to be shared. This needs to be given to others. But in the name of minority, in the name of times are very difficult, things are against us, we sometimes become lazy. And we learn from Imam Sajjad that this should not be the case. Let's explore this a bit further. When we explore the situation at the time of Imam Sajjad, we find that there are four very important factors that prevail, four very important aspects of the situation of the Muslim lands at that time. So we are talking straight after Karbala. The first thing is that the entire Muslim land has this fear of the authority, has this fear of what's happening. First Karbala happens. What people could not have ever imagined just takes place. Unimaginable. A few years later, the event of Harra happens, where Medina, so you know the event of Harra, where a group of people, the governor of Medina, because he wanted to kind of make people more aware of Yazid and bring about the hearts together, he asks a few people from Medina to go to Sham. And so they travel to Sham and they see what they see. When they come back, they tell the people that Yazid is like this and like that. People start to rise. So the opposite effect happens. Yazid comes to know this and he sends an army. He tells them, you can do whatever you want. And history reports, and it's called the event of Harra, you can search it, that the atrocities that occurs in the city of Medina is unimaginable. The amount of violence that occurs there, it goes across the Muslim lands that this happened in Medina. This is the severity, brings about even more fear. The uprising of Mukhtar in Kufa, the way that ends. The Tawabin in year 64, 65, and how that is just every one of them is killed. 3,000, 4,000 people, all of them killed. In the first 5-6 years of the Imam's Imamate, you find these events happen. The whole Muslim Ummah is in fear. You can't dare say anything. You can't dare raise your eyebrow. You have to be very careful what you're going to say. Your business is at risk. Your family is at risk. Fear is prevalent. The second aspect of this, I'm describing you to the society over this, in this 34 years of the Imam. So the first aspect is fear. The second is the lack of knowledge and awareness. This starts at the time of Muawiyah, where it is very famously known that Muawiyah stops education, religious education, completely. There's a very interesting conversation that happens between him and Abdullah ibn Abbas, where Abdullah ibn Abbas is doing tafsir in the mosque and Muawiyah stops. Says, you're not allowed to do this. He says, what do you mean? He says, I want you to read the Quran, recite the Quran, don't explain it. You're allowed to read the Quran however much you want. Don't go explaining it. Don't do tafsir. It's a very interesting conversation, you can refer to it. But it is known that Islamic education, religious education, slowly gets deleted. And you find that the Imam in his time, the fourth Imam in his time, is facing a population, is facing an ummah that is very far away from a true understanding of the Quran, a true understanding of Allah, of the Prophet, of the Quran. And people are just not interested. In fact, once Imam Sajjad alayhi salam tells Jabir, the companion, says, "Ma nadri kayfa nasna'u bin nas." What can I do with these people? What can we do with the people? Inna hadathnahum bima sami'na min Rasulillah dhahiku. So we come and we narrate what we've heard from the Prophet, and they're laughing. They're making fun. He says, what can I do with the people? Here I am teaching them about the sunnah of the Prophet, or what the Prophet has said, and people are making fun. They're laughing. You see what kind of ummah this is, what kind of people these are. They have taken distance from the Quran, distance from the Sunnah of the Prophet, not interested in learning, not interested in religious education. Third point, and this is that fasad and immorality is so prevalent at that time, so prevalent. It's very strange. You find that history reports that the greatest of singers and dancers, the celebrities of that time, do you know where they live? They live in Medina and Mecca. History says that the rulers of Sham, when they wanted to organize concerts, they would call the big names from Mecca and Medina. The likes of Umar ibn Abi Rabi, you can check out. Celebrity, a big singer, but full of immorality, full of fasad. Where? In Medina and Mecca. In fact, very interesting, Shaykh Salim in his 10 days of Muharram speaks about this in Fajr. You can refer to it. Very beautiful. In one narration, we find that one of the celebrities has a big concert in the city of Medina. There is so many people to come and see him and hear him. So many people that people are climbing onto roofs, and this event, this concert turns to a tragedy. People die. Why? Because of how many people have gathered in the city of Medina to listen to this guy sing. You see the fasad? You see the immorality of the people in Medina and Mecca during that time? This is the same city that Imam Zainul Abideen is living. This is where he stays. But these are the people he's facing. And fourthly, you find that many of the scholars of that time, many of the individuals who were Ahl al-Minbar, those who would go to the Minbar, those who would guide the people, those who do fatwa to the people and are supposed to tell the people about the Quran, they will be what? They'll be working under the authority. And rather than guiding the people in what is right, rather than condemning the wrong that is happening, they would just use their time for other things. And they would hide the truth, not tell the people what is happening. They would hide the truth. But worse, some of them would go and change the truth. Big scholars. We're talking of scholars who were in the garb of people of knowledge. The likes of Muhammad ibn Shahab al-Zuhri, a reputable scholar of the highest degree. If you search, you find very much interesting stories about him, of how the authorities used him to divert people away from Makkah towards Baytul Muqaddas. Why? Because Makkah at that time was under the authority of Ibn Zubayr, and they didn't want people to go towards Makkah, and therefore they used him and his influence on people as a scholar to do what? To take the people away from Makkah and towards Baytul Muqaddas. This is a scholar who is used by the authority for such a thing. So, you find this is the situation of the Muslim Ummah. On one side, there's fear. Nobody can say anything. We're fear for our business. We're fear for our families. Secondly, we're far from knowledge. Religious education is very poor. Thirdly, the dunya, attachment to the dunya, luxury, fasad and immorality, music. It's prevalent. And fourthly, the scholars are not there. Or those scholars who are there, they've been bought out. They're not doing their jobs properly. So this is the situation of the time of the Imam of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. Now you tell me, isn't it strange or ajib or amazing of how this Imam with his companion goes from the beginning of his imamah to handing over the imamah to Imam Baqir alayhi salam, and then what Imam Baqir does, Imam Sadiq does, thousands of people with him. These 34 years are amazing years. And it is impossible It is impossible for this to have happened unless you have a man like the Imam who is active, who has a strategy, who is present in society, busy doing things, planning, organizing. This is not a man who's sitting at home, weak, praying all day. No, it can't be. Imam Sajjad has got a strategy in place. He's working day in, day out. With a long-term planning, he knows that what I'm going to do, I'm going to prepare the ummah for Imam Baqir alayhi salam. Because there's a promise from the Prophet about what's going to happen about Imam Sajjad during Imam Sajjad's time. There's a promise there. He's preparing the people. He's working very hard with his companions. Let me share a few things. Obviously, in the short time that we have, we can't cover everything. But just a few indication of how, some aspect at least, of how the Imam manages to do this. One of the things that you find in the pages of history is that the Imam uses dua and maw'idah a lot. When the Imam is dealing with the people, when the Imam is dealing with the masses, the people, he uses two forms, two strategies. One of them is dua, and the second one is maw'idah. See, the Imam is not accepted as Imam, right? At times, he's not even accepted as a scholar. So he can't organize classes or talk to people just to guide them. It's not going to happen. People are not going to listen to him. So you find that he does these two things. First, he brings about this idea of dua. But this dua is not just a simple dua. This dua has in it knowledge and awareness. And this dua has the ability to touch the hearts, to remove the barriers of that fear, of that immorality. It just pierces through straight to the heart and shakens the person. This is the power of the dua of Imam Sajjad. This Sayfatul Sajjadiyah is very special. It's an encyclopedia. It's there to waken up the heart. This munajat, this 15 whispered prayers, very special. Very, very special. Look what it's doing. It's a strategy. The Imam could have very well spent time in his own room and doing his own dua. Why are they public? Why are they public? Because he wants to do something. There's a strategy behind it. He wants to wake the people up. And the people get woken up through these du'as. By reading these du'as, by pondering upon these du'as, by speaking to Allah through these du'as, once a week at least, we waken up our hearts. And mu'idah. What is mu'idah? Mu'idah is to warn the people, to shake the person. You find very often the Imam would go to those topics that are very obvious and very common between everyone. Very many a time you find the hadith of the fourth Imam are full of verses of the Quran. Full of topics that are very simple topics, but they wake up the hearts of the people. It's very different to the times of Imam Sadiq, for example. Imam Sadiq will go into very deep concepts of justice and the Prophet and the miracle of the Quran. No, Imam Sadiq wants to do more of that. For example, in Tuhaf al-Uqul, it says that Imam had sessions every Friday with the people. And look how he sat. In one of the sessions, it says, Ayyuhan nas ittaqullah. He talks to people. He doesn't say, oh believers. Ayyuhan nas, oh people. Whoever's listening. Ittaqullah wa'alamu annakum ilayhi rajiun. They know that you are going to return to Allah. Every single one of you very soon is going to stop breathing. And then you're going to be buried. And you're going to return to Allah. And you know for sure this is going to happen. I'm not talking about a conspiracy theory or something that's possible. No, for sure, 100%. Every single one of you will return back to Allah. Ala wa inna awwala ma yas'alanika an rabbika alladhi kunta ta'budu. The first thing that you will be asked about is the Lord that you worship. What Lord do you worship? Do you worship? Do you submit? Do you only listen to your nafs? Does your nafs take you forward in life? Does your nafs decide what is good in your life? Does your nafs make decisions for you in your life? Does your authority and the pleasure of this world make decisions for you in your life? Guide you to where you're supposed to go? Or is it Allah that you worship? Then you'll be asked about the Prophet whom Allah has sent. Then you'll be asked about the deen. What religion do you follow? What's your way of life? وَعَنْ كِتَابِكَ, and you'll be asked the book, about your book. What books do you follow? What instructions do you live by? What guidelines do you follow when you do business? Who decides if your business is okay or not? The law of the land? How much it profits me in my pocket? How much fame he gives me? Or the book of Allah? وَعَنْ إِمَامِكَ الَّذِي كُنْتَ تَتَوَلَّهُ, and you'll be asked about the Imam. Who do you follow? Who's the one that you follow? Who's your role model? Whose footsteps are you walking on? You see how the Imam is waking the people up? Very simple questions. They wake the people up. And he carries on. So this is how the Imam speaks to the people. How he speaks to general people. Ayyuhan nas. Not talking to believers only. The general masses. Through dua, through reminders. Second is the Imam he works with people that are around him. Those khawas, those elites. People that are very close to him. He does their tarbiyah. This is also very important. The Imam doesn't just suffice with the people, but also he has small groups of people that he works with more seriously, at a more personal level. And these are the companions that carry on the message. Amongst the three that are mentioned at the beginning of the hadith, one of them is Yahya ibn Tawil, an amazing companion. They say about him that he'll be a tall person and he'll walk in the bazaar with a long coat, charming individual. And he would go to the people and he would inform the people بِأَعْلَى صَوْتِهِ, with the loudest of his voice. Oh people, we reject that which you hear from those who insult Amirul Mu'mineen. He would remind the people, who is your follower? Who do you follow? Who's your Imam? These people that are trying to guide your life, these people that are distracting in your life, you shouldn't follow them. In another event, he would enter the Masjid of Nabi and loudly would recite verse number 4 of Surah Mumtahana. But he would dissociate himself from those who don't love the Prophet, those who don't love Allah. So be careful who you love. Be careful who you associate yourself with. These are the people who are the khawas. The people who are around the Imam, trained by the Imam. Such beautiful individuals. And amongst them are slaves. You find that one of the things that Imam Sajjad is known for is the amount of slaves that he was working with. You've heard the famous stories in the month of Ramadan, how towards the end of the month of Ramadan, the Imam would gather the slaves and he would free many of them. But how would he free them? He would first train them. In a very beautiful incident that shows how much these slaves of the Imam were trained. They're the same slaves that the Imam would say after a year or two, now that you know, go. And they would spread across the lands and they would carry on the work. In one very beautiful incident in Ithbatul Wasiyah from Sa'id ibn Musayyab, he says that one year in Medina, there was no rain. فَخَرَجَ النَّاسِ, the people came out. As you know, when rain doesn't come, there's a drought, people go out in the mountains, in the desert, to pray to Allah for rain. He says, I was going around looking and nothing was happening. Du'as of the people was not accepted. No rain was coming. Until I saw a black slave. And he went and he sat in a corner where nobody could see him. And I was just following him. And he raised his hands toward the sky. And as he was saying dua, he hadn't finished dua, the clouds started to come in Medina and it started to rain. And this person just got up and he went. I followed him. And I saw that he entered the house of Imam Sajjad. So I knocked on the door, and the Imam knew him, one of the companions. And I told the Imam that there's one of the people that is in your house. Allow me to take him to my house. I want to be with him. The Imam says, no problem, whatever it is, you take him with you. It's yours. So the Imam calls all of his slaves and they all gather. And this person says, I looked at every one of them and he wasn't there. That person that entered, he says, that person that entered your house, O Imam, he's not amongst them. So the Imam asks, where is everybody here? They say, no, there's one more person left. So when that person is called, he says, yes, it's him. So the Imam turns to his slave, he says, I have gifted you to this companion of mine. He will take care of you. Go with him. This person bursts in tears. And he turns to the companion and says, you are going to separate me from my Imam? And he starts to cry. He turns to Allah, oh Allah, I cannot bear this, that you separate me from my Imam. When the companion sees this, he becomes very upset. He says, it's okay. And he just turns on and he leaves. He doesn't reach home, and they come to him and they said that the slave that you wanted, come to his burial, he has passed away. He couldn't bear the separation. These are the people that the Imam is training. And lastly, another strategy that Imam has, a very important point, is that he's very stern and very strong against those scholars who are bought out. You find, I'll give one example. The Imam writes a long letter, a very lengthy letter. For an Imam to write such a letter, it's very important. And this letter remains, it becomes a public letter. Not just a private letter to the person, to the scholar. No, this becomes a public letter, a very lengthy one, and a very stern one, a very strong one. The words are very heavy. How could you do such a thing? In your position, you have more responsibilities. Your responsibility is greater and more serious because you are aware of the religion and you have a duty to perform your responsibilities. It is because of you that now Muslims have doubts and look at scholars with suspicion because of you. That you have benefited from your status, from the fame that you have, from the love that the people have for you. You misuse that to hide the truth. People respect you, people love you, they look up to you, and you hide the truth from them. You don't tell them about the Quran and the Hadith. And Imam goes on in a lengthy Hadith, condemning his action. That you as a scholar who have worn this garb of knowledge, your responsibility is greater. On the minbar and outside in your private life, you should be such that people follow you. That you are an example of the Quran and the Sunnah. That you have the duty to warn the people. Why is that we see that you hide the truth? That you have become a part of the authority in spreading wrongness. So this is a very strong letter the Imam writes to Az-Zuhri. In summary, I shared these with you. And inshallah, there's many lessons that we can learn from this. Many, many lessons. But the one thing that I want to highlight over here and take inspiration for this is this. And I mentioned at the beginning, I'll repeat, that today we are a minority. Today we are living in a society whereby we are going against the current. We are living in a society where ideology is an ideology that's against a divine ideology. That the purpose of life today is not the purpose of life that the Quran and the Hadith talk about. That the immorality prevalent in today's society is there. The people are not aware of our religion. However, these are not an excuse for us to stop spreading the word. Whether it be at school, at university, at work, wherever it is, we have a duty and a responsibility today as soldiers of the Imam. We are carrying this on our shoulders to take it to the 12th Imam. We want the Dhuhr to happen. It is our duty. Today the battle is not a physical battle. Today, the scholars tell us that we live in a war of information. The battle is a battle of concepts. It's a battle of information. The war is at the level of how much knowledge we're spreading. And so the jihad today is a jihad of tabyin, of explaining, of revealing, of spreading the true concepts. We need to show, what does justice mean today? What does tranquility mean today? What does self-esteem mean today? What is this izzah of a human being? True human values, true human morality, true human perfection. What is Islam saying about this? What is Islam saying about faith? We need to have a presence, because today people are thirsty for knowledge. And the way Imam turned the situation from 3 to 1,000, we too can do this if we are active, especially on the media, especially on social media. We need to be active in the right way, with knowledge, with guidance, but enlightening the people towards the deen, towards true knowledge. Because today, this is what is missing today. This is a duty that we have. Inshallah, we pray that we are inspired and get the tawfiq from Imam Sajan alayhi salam in this regard. And together, as a community, as well as individuals, we are able to truly have a presence, truly be able to be a true servant and a true soldier of the Imam in sharing the knowledge that we have about Islam. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon Ali ibn al-Husayn, Zainul Abideen, alayhi salam. Take your hearts to Medina. Take your hearts to Baqi. For today, Baqi is empty and dark. Take a candle with you and tell the Imam that we shall always remember you and remember your father, Hussein. The way you remembered Karbala for 35 years. In a hadith we find Imam Musadiq says, Al-Bakka'un Khamsa. Throughout history, there are 5 people that were known to be crying so much. The Bakka'un. Who are they? The first of them is Adam alayhi salam, and then Yaqub, and then Yusuf. The fourth of those who cried so much is Hazrat Zahra salamullah alayha. And the fifth of them is none other than Ali ibn al-Husayn as-Sajjad. He says that ما وضع بين يدي طعام إلا بكى. Food would not be placed in front of him except that tears would start flowing from his eyes, and he would remember Karbala. In another narration we find that one of the companions says, I followed the Imam as he was walking outside of the city of Medina, and he came to the desert. In the desert he fell into sajda and he started to cry for a long time. The Imam was weeping, and as he said, the companion must have felt this lump in his throat. Oh my master, how long would you cry? The Imam turns to him and says, think about it. Yaqub lost one son, and even that his son was alive. And Yaqub cried so much that he lost his eyesight. What about me? I saw my father, my uncle, my brother and my family members being killed in front of me. Should I not cry? Let me take you to Karbala. It is narrated on the afternoon of Ashura, when Imam al-Hussein was all alone. At one point he enters the tents. He goes into the tent of the companions. He sees nobody there. He enters each of the tents. He says it's empty. He enters the tent of his brother Abbas. He says it's empty. At this point, loneliness and ghurba takes over him. He says, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Al-Ali al-Azim. Then he enters the tent of his son Ali ibn al-Hussein, and he finds him with Zainab salamullah alayha. Look at this scene, brothers and sisters. Zainab is taking care of her nephew, Imam al-Sajjad. As Imam al-Sajjad sees his father enter, he gets up a little bit, but he can't. He turns to Zainab salamullah alayha. Please help me sit a little. Imam al-Hussein then asks Zainab about his son. She says, Alhamdulillah. Then Imam al-Sajjad turns to his father, Ya Abata, what has happened to you today between you and the hypocrites? The Imam then says, Ya Waladi, oh my son, Shaitan came and they forgot the remembrance of Allah, and a battle took place between us and them. The Imam must have seen the situation and the body of Imam al-Hussein covered in blood. So he asks a question that must have pierced the heart of Zainab. He says, Ya Abata, Ayna Ammi al-Abbas. Oh my father, where is my uncle Abbas? The Maqdad says tears start flowing from the eyes of Zainab. She looks toward her brother. How is Imam al-Hussein going to answer this? He says, Ya Bunayya, inna ammaka qad qutil. Oh my son, your uncle Abbas has been killed. وَقَطَعُوا يَدَيْهِ عَلَى شَاطِ الْفُرَاتِ. And his hands were cut near the Euphrates. Then Imam Sajjad turns to his father. He says, وَأَيْنَ أَخِي عَلِي? Where is Ali Akbar? وَحَبِيب ibn Mazahir? وَمُسْلِم ibn al-Sajjad? What is Imam going to reply to him? He says, Ya Bunayya, let me end the conversation right here. I'lam, no, innahu laysa fil khiyam. In the tents there is no one except two of us. Just me and you are left over here. At this point, Imam al-Sajjad turns to his aunt. Ya Mata, oh my aunt, alayya bis-sayf wal-asa. Oh my aunt, bring me two things. Bring me my sword and bring me my walking stick. Imam al-Hussein turns to his son and says, وَمَا تَصْنَعُ بِهِمَا? What are you going to do with these two things? Imam al-Sajjad says, وَأَمَّا الْعَصَا, as for the walking stick, I will lean on it. وَأَمَّا السَّيْفَ, as for the sword, I will fight for you. I will defend the son of the Prophet. The Imam calms him down. The Imam says, no, my son, there's a long journey ahead of you. There's a difficult task ahead of you. These children and this woman will be under your care. فَإِنَّهُمْ غُرَبَاء. They will be very alone and abandoned. Many difficulties will come at the hands of the enemy. They will cry, please support them. Make sure that you remind them of Allah. Basically, you are the only man in this caravan. And what a journey is coming your way, oh my son. What an amazing and difficult journey is coming your way. The Imam will be taken from Karbala to Kufa, not in a normal way, as a prisoner of war, not just any prisoner of war. Chains will be tied around his wrist and around his neck. This will be not normal chains. Some of the reports say that they will not be rough, but in fact they would have spears in them. They would tear the skin of Imam al-Sajjad. Let me end with one point. Take you back tonight. Imam al-Baqir al-Islam is doing ghusl and kufan of his father. Medina is quiet. You cannot hear the beautiful voice of Imam Sajjad reciting Quran. There is no munajat towards Allah tonight. All of it is quiet. All of a sudden, you hear the cry of Imam Baqir alayhi salam. What has happened? Maybe he just realized the scars on the body of Imam Sajjad. What are the scars on the neck of Imam Sajjad? This is where the chains were placed. This is what went through the skin of Imam Sajjad as he was taken from Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Sham. Asham, Asham, Asham. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Matam ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein, 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 Ya
فاطمہ کے گھر میں فرش عزا بچھا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے. پھر فاطمہ کے گھر میں فرش عزا بچھا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے. کرب و بلا کا زخمی یثرب میں چل بسا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے. پھر فاطمہ کے گھر میں فرش عزا بچھا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے. پھر فاطمہ کے گھر میں فرش عزا بچھا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے. پھر فاطمہ کے گھر میں فرش عزا بچھا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے. زیر کفن بھی اس کی آنکھوں سے کوہ جاری یاد آ رہی ہے غربت سجاد کو بدر کی. روزے پہ مصطفیٰ کے اعلان ہو رہا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے. پھر فاطمہ کے گھر میں فرش عزا بچھا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے. باقر سے کہہ رہا تھا سادات کا گھرانہ، پہلو میں نہ جا کے میت نہ لے کے جانا. پہلے بھی ایک جنازہ گھر واپس آ چکا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے. پھر فاطمہ کے گھر میں فرش عزا بچھا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے. اب تو مدینے والوں تم کو سکون رہے گا، روئے گا اور نرس کی آنکھوں سے خون بہے گا. بابا کو رونے والا
مارے کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے، پھر فاطمہ کے گھر میں فرش عزا بچھا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے۔ اب تو مدینے والوں تم کو سکون رہے گا، روئے گا اور نہ اس کی آنکھوں سے خون بہے گا، بابا کو رونے والا خاموش ہو گیا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے، پھر فاطمہ کے گھر میں فرش عزا بچھا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے۔ میت کے آگے آگے یہ کوئی کہہ رہا تھا، بازار سے نہ گزرے سجاد کا جنازہ، بازار کو یہ قیدی روتا ہوا گیا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے، پھر فاطمہ کے گھر میں فرش عزا بچھا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے۔ مارا ہے اس طرح سے ظالم نے زہر دے کے، کٹ کٹ کے باہر آئے اس کے جگر کے ٹکڑے، پہلو پہ فاطمہ کے پھر زخم ایک لگا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے، پھر فاطمہ کے گھر میں فرش عزا بچھا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے، کرب و بلا کا زخمی یثرب میں چل بسا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے، پھر فاطمہ کے گھر میں فرش عزا بچھا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے، پھر فاطمہ کے گھر میں فرش عزا بچھا ہے، بیمار کربلا کا تابوت اٹھ رہا ہے، یا حسین 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 سجاد نے کیسے وہ گزارا ہوگا، وقت سجاد نے کیسے وہ گزارا ہوگا، وقت سجاد نے کیسے وہ گزارا ہوگا، وقت سجاد نے کیسے وہ گزارا ہوگا، نام زینب کا جو غیروں نے پکارا ہوگا، سجاد نے
سجاد نے کیسے وہ گزارا ہوگا.
لو حسین ابن علی پیاسے ذبح ہونے لگے. لو حسین ابن علی پیاسے ذبح ہونے لگے. اتنا شرمندہ وہ دریا کا کنارہ ہوگا. سجاد نے کیسے وہ گزارا ہوگا. سجاد نے کیسے وہ گزارا ہوگا. وہ گرا سینے سے زینب کی ردا کا دامن. وہ گرا سینے سے زینب کی ردا کا دامن. کون اب فاطمہ جائی کا سہارا ہوگا. سجاد نے کیسے وہ گزارا ہوگا. سجاد نے کیسے وہ گزارا ہوگا. سر میدان تو جانے کو لگا ہے اصغر. سر میدان تو جانے کو لگا ہے اصغر. کے بنا ماں کا گزارا ہوگا. سجاد نے کیسے وہ گزارا ہوگا. سجاد نے کیسے وہ گزارا ہوگا. موقع ندا پہ بہانے لگے آنسو مولا. موقع ندا پہ بہانے لگے آنسو مولا. پھر سکینہ کو کسی شخص نے مارا ہوگا. سجاد نے کیسے وہ گزارا ہوگا. سجاد نے کیسے وہ گزارا ہوگا. روز محشر کا ہمیں ڈر نہیں نہ کوئی شوکت. روز محشر کا ہمیں ڈر نہیں کوئی شوکت. ہاتھ شفیق کے قدموں پہ ہمارا ہوگا. سجاد نے کیسے وہ گزارا ہوگا. سجاد نے کیسے وہ گزارا ہوگا. یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین. مارتا وہ عابدے بیمار تھا. چلنے سے جو لاچار تھا. چلنے سے جو لاچار تھا. اور شام کا بازار تھا. اور شام کا بازار تھا. اور مصطفیٰ کی بیٹیاں مولا امام یا حسن یا حسین. مولا امام یا حسن یا حسین. مولا امام یا حسن یا حسین. یا حسین یا حسین. شبیر کی اولاد لی. شبیر کی اولاد لی. سینے پہ جو شاخ پلی. سینے پہ جو شاخ پلی. جس کی ابا بن میں چلی. جس کی ابا بن میں چلی. منہ پر تماچوں کے نشان. مولا امام یا حسن یا حسین. مولا امام یا حسن یا حسین. مولا امام یا حسن یا حسین. یا حسین 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 یا
السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين وعلى التسعة المعصومين من ذريتك وبنيك علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا الله من أنصارك وأعوانك ومن المستشهدين بين يديك. السلام عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة ورحمة الله وبركاته.
اللهم كل وليك حجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا.